They're hard workers who represent the United States every day on the front lines, anticipating crises and providing invaluable expertise to help prevent conflicts from exploding into catastrophes. I am not opposed to political appointees, and in fact, my colleague across the aisle, the senator from Tennessee, did an incredible job as an appointee to a critical United States ally, the country of Japan, and I really enjoyed working with him when he was ambassador there. But frankly, I don't think you are particularly qualified for this role, and I'm concerned about how your lack of understanding may even inadvertently cause friction in our critical relationship. Will you even be able to effectively lead our mission in Singapore? I have my doubts. So my questions are going to be to allow you to assuage my doubts and win my vote. Dr. Sinha, I need to know that you understand some basic facts about Singapore and its critical relationship with the United States. For example, in 2024, did the United States have a trade deficit with Singapore? Yes or no? It did not. How large was the US's trade surplus with Singapore in 2024?
$80 billion, $18 billion.
2.8. You're off by a huge factor. The United States had a 2.8 billion trade surplus with Singapore in 2024. If confirmed, how would you explain our friendship in Singapore to the president? How would you explain to our friends in Singapore the president's threats to slap tariffs as high as 25% on their country, given that the United States has nearly 3 billion trade surplus with Singapore?
Thank you for your question, Senator. We are not walking away for any dialogue between the two countries and two leaders. If confirmed, I will make a personal relation with the government of Singapore, and I will make sure the dialogue continues and we settle the issues of trade together.
Do you support increasing a tariff on Singapore, seeing as how we don't have they buy more of our stuff than we buy of theirs?
So, Senator,
so you want to put a tariff on them?
Thank you for your question, Senator. You know that we have President has only done 10% of trade increase with the Singapore, and he's open to dialogue even for that.
Do you agree? Do you agree with that 10% increase with Singapore? It seems how they don't have a surplus with us.
Well,
yes or no? Do you support the president's plan to put a 10% tariff on Singapore goods produced in Singapore?
I mean, Senator, thank you for your question, but I believe in President's decision of a free trade with any nations in the world, and he's resetting the trade numbers with each country, and he's open for discussion and dialogue with each country.
So you would like to have free trade with Singapore? That's what you would push for as ambassador?
Well, we always had free trade with Singapore since 2004.
So so do you support the 10% increase, tariff increase?
It's the dialogue is not yet closed. The door is not closed.
Let's go on to the next thing. What year is Singapore next scheduled to be the ASEAN chair?
This year is Malaysia.
I didn't ask you about this year. When is Singapore going to be the ASEAN chair?
I don't know when, but this year.
2027. Please describe what holding the ASEAN chair will entail for Singapore and how you would support Singapore in your role as U.S. ambassador, if confirmed. What are some of the critical things that Singapore will have to do as a chair of ASEAN?
I mean, I agree with you that you had made a statement that all the ASEAN's members should be treated like almost
No, answer my question. What does holding the ASEAN chairmanship entail for Singapore? Can you name one thing? A role that they will have to play as ASEAN chair. What will?
Well, there, you know that this ASEAN chair is not only one country. There are 10 countries involved.
No, the ASEAN chair is one country.
One country, 10. But there are 10 countries involved as an ASEAN group.
You're not answering my question. You're not answering my question, sir. Can you name one thing that will be of critical importance to Singapore as ASEAN chair? A role. There are many things. Can you name one
Defense,
thing?
Economics.
Those are very broad. Name an issue.
Trade.
I don't think, no. Okay, let's do something. In what way does the United States Navy work with Singapore, and how do you envision strengthening the U.S. Navy's work with Singapore? And are there any facilities that come to mind that are central to our relationship with Singapore?
thank you for your question. But we have a naval presence in Singapore, and our military, they always do exercise with the Singapore. They come here, the Army of Singapore, they come here for the training as well. So we have a close ties with the Singapore in defense.
Can you name a specific thing? Please, I'm trying to help you here, but you've not even done your homework, sir. You want to be ambassador to Singapore, one of the most important alliances, friends we have in the Indo-Pacific, a key place that we're going to be fighting against our greatest adversary in the region, the PRC. Singapore may feature incredible culture, but that should not be treated as a glamour posting. This nation is too important to the United States, to ASEAN, to the entire region. And frankly, I think the mission is important to US interests and national security, and it should actually be a foreign service officer. But I have even larger concerns with the political pick, when that political pick is somebody as unqualified as you. I've opposed political picks for Singapore from Democrats. So this is not a partisan issue. I just feel that you are not taking this seriously, and you think this is a glamour posting, that you're going to live a nice life in Singapore. But what we need is someone who's going to actually do the work. I'm out of time. I have a couple additional questions related to management that I'll submit for the record. But I want to reinforce again for you right now, you are not currently prepared for this posting, period, and you need to shape up and do some homework.
Senator Coons.
Thank you, Senator Ricketts, and thank you to all of you for your willingness to serve our nation, represent us overseas. I will focus on the nominees for UN posts, but no disrespect to the others. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Mr. Bartos, we've known each other well. You were introduced by both the Democrat and Republican senators of Pennsylvania. Congratulations. Folks against whom you ran in a previous cycle, double congratulations. And to you and your family. The UN is a crucial area, in my view, for the United States to advance its national interests. And as you cited in your opening comments, the UN Charter focuses on promoting peace, security, and stability. And we need a UN that is focused on those priorities. I was encouraged that you also emphasized the importance of expanding the number of Americans who are in the UN system globally. Over the last 15 years that I've served on this committee, over several administrations, my view is that when we withdraw from the UN, our adversaries simply advance and fill the gaps that we create. So your challenge is going to be to balance ensuring that the money that we invest in the UN and the systems and organizations at the UN are efficient, are transparent, are delivering on their mission, but to not abandon that mission, to not completely withdraw. One of my core concerns is that the US-UN reform process might look like what happened to the USAID. We could have had a balanced, bipartisan, measured process that looked hard at inefficiency in USAID, narrowed its focus, and prioritized an American national interests. Instead, it was simply slashed and shut down, largely with no consultation with Congress. If confirmed, will you commit to engaging with Congress regularly on reform efforts to ensure that there's bipartisan support, both for sustained U.S. leadership in the UN system and for any reforms that are proposed and that you're carrying out?
Senator, thank you for your question. And I'm smiling here because we've known each other 20 years.
Yep.
And who would have thought 20 years ago when we were working on sewer issues in Newcastle County, Delaware, that we'd be sitting here. So it's an honor to be with you.
God indeed has a sense of humor.
Yes, yes, sir. And it's wonderful to see you. And thank you for your question. Yes, I can strongly commit, and if confirmed, look forward to working with the committee to address all of these issues. I'm inspired by Secretary Rubio's leadership. I'm deeply grateful to President Trump for his leadership. And if confirmed, I look forward to working as often as you'll have me with this committee to address these issues. Thank you, sir.
To your point about the importance of having Americans, how will you advance American representation in the UN system at the same time that there are proposals that would dramatically cut back our contributions to the system?
So thank you for the question. In his first term, President Trump established the directive that we were to have an agency at IO at the State Department to focus on either elections where United States citizens could run and or be appointed to certain agency heads. That office, any of us involved in politics would love to have a record that office has achieved over the last 5 years. If memory serves, it's something like 28 contested positions and 23 or 24 successful candidates. It's a fantastic record. Credit to President Trump for his leadership on that issue. In his second term, and again, I'm a citizen. I'm not currently at post or in the State Department, But if confirmed, one of the things in my briefings that I really perked up at and thought was this a huge opportunity is the terrific team at state, at IO, that's working on these issues.
I would
and to
agree.
work-
It's been a sustained success across several administrations to keep advancing Americans for positions of leadership. One sitting to your right is nominated to lead an important food-related agency. The previous head, a Chinese national, was an alarming example of what happens to a critical UN agency when we don't have either American or American-aligned leadership. Last question for you, and then I have one question, if I might, for Ms. Guilfoyle. I believe investing in peacekeeping is a core part of the UN mission. I agree with you. We should have zero tolerance for abuse. I worked with Chairman Corker now many years ago on investigations and transparency around peacekeeping. How will we sustain our peacekeeping engagement when the president's proposed budget zeroes out all U.S. contributions to peacekeeping, and the rescission that will be on the floor next week would claw back $360 million? How do we balance that? How do we sustain an effective voice in peacekeeping while there's proposals to withdraw all support?
Senator, thank you for the question. As a citizen, I've not currently read into any of the issues relating to the reorganization or how that's approaching. I can say generally, though, if confirmed, I look forward to immediately getting stuck into those issues, to learn about those issues, and to working with this committee. I think on the broader point about peacekeeping operations and the successful ones versus the unsuccessful ones, having clear objectives and a clear exit strategy is an outstanding roadmap for any of these endeavors.
Broadly, we're in agreement on that point. I look forward to continuing our conversation.
Thank you, Senator.
Ms. Guilfoyle, if I might, just because the U.S.-Greece relationship is important to me, to my state, to our nation. Under the first Trump administration, there was a so-called 3+1 cooperation launched between the United States, Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. Give me your sense of what difference that's made, what's its current status, and whether you would commit to sustaining this level of cooperation in this structure.
Yes, thank you for the question, Senator. I believe this is a very important area of concern as it relates to national security in Greece and Cyprus, Israel, all being very strategic and powerful allies, steadfast and reliable throughout the years. And this has just increased under President Trump's last administration. We're looking forward to making sure that those partnerships remain intact and, in fact, foster and develop. I believe firmly, if confirmed as ambassador to Greece, that I will work tirelessly to make sure that Greece's national security interests and our strategic allies in that partnership remain very strong and robust, working in concert and conjunction with the United States of America, because national security in those areas and those countries directly equates with national security for the United States of America. And I would ensure that we increase the commitment that has been consistent by the people of Greece to do the defense spending, buying U.S. military equipment, which they have been doing, and see to it that we are going to project to include up to 5% from them.
Anything for me about why the 3+1 mechanism is particularly important?
Well, geopolitically, as you know, that is a very complex region with a lot of security issues, migration issues. We saw recently what's happened. And, you know, Greece, where it occupies its place in the world, is that southeastern edge of Europe, which is pivotal in terms of its relationship, its proximity to the Middle East. So we saw then with the cooperation with our allies, making sure that American citizens that were stranded and at great risk and danger in Israel were protected and were transported with ease and efficiency, despite the complex issues involving visas. Our partners, our allies in Greece were able to help effectuate that in a timely and safe fashion, bringing people through Cyprus, through Greece, and into Athens. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Senator Barrasso.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. To follow up, Ms. Guilfoyle, on what you were just talking about with the NATO and the importance of the relationship and how closely we are aligned. There's a military naval support activity, Suda Bay, vital U.S. military installation. I know there's going to be updates. I think $44 million has been committed to invest in new joint mobility processing center in that area. Can you just overall give us some things, what opportunities you see for increased cooperation with Greece as these upgrades are completed? Because you, I think, appropriately called attention to the fact that all of these countries have now committed to going up to 5%.
They have, which I think is incredibly important. That was committed to at the Alliance and at The Hague, and that is something that I know that these countries have intentionality to fulfill and to continue that commitment that they made to us. Thank you for bringing up these questions, Senator. Suda Bay, yes, as you know, is the largest U.S. military base in Greece. It is strategically and geopolitically critical to the United States. It's been a really wonderful asset for us, for our military base, especially in that area of the world. So we're going to continue to look forward to that and make sure, and if confirmed, I plan to visit all of these facilities to deepen my keen understanding of the issues, the people, the needs, so that we maintain that strength for American interests and American national security. Ravathusa is also incredibly important because there are unbelievable opportunities for liquid natural gas, which could be crucial to limit the influence, undue influence in the region of Russia, of China, and make sure that we push back on that on a daily basis. There are certain things that have happened that have been very disheartening as it relates to national security in the port of Piraeus, where the Chinese were allowed to gain access and purchase that. What I'm proud to say is the Greek people have now implemented a system that somewhat mimics what we have here in the United States, CFIUS, to prevent from foreign interests and countries encroaching on sovereign nations and buying up key national security ports and interests. So that is something that I was encouraged that has happened recently in the past month or so. And I look forward to partnering with them to make sure that we can use some of our models of best practices in those ways to make sure that there isn't over encroachment of foreign influence and interest in key ports, and work with them strategically to help understand how we're able to prevent that in the United States of America. Thank you for the question.
Well, I appreciate your comment about energy, because I think of energy as the master resource. Greece, I think, is quickly becoming a major energy hub in the Eastern Mediterranean. You talked about LNG. They've expanded their LNG terminals. I think they've earlier this year signed an agreement with Chevron and ExxonMobil to do more. So just generally, could you give us a little thoughts on American energy companies in Greece's energy sector, and how will you support and encourage this effort for more energy?
Great opportunities, I mentioned, exist with Ravathusa, with the LNG terminal, which is key to that regional energy strategy. Also in Alexandroupoli, the LNG terminal, that's essential for U.S. energy exports and for Balkan access. So this is, again, why I would like to just stress the importance of Greece, the seriousness of this position, the opportunity we have to grow and strengthen the alliance and the bond between the Greek Americans and the United States of America, and those living, working, visiting in Greece, to ensure their safety, productivity, and make sure that their needs are met. And I really look forward to working with the absolutely incredible people that are so talented in the State Department, and the careers, and the people that are currently serving in the embassy, working tirelessly to ensure that American interests are represented, and to work for President Trump to effectuate his goals, his beliefs, for the United States of America.
Thank you. Mr. Bartos, the U.S. Is the United Nations' largest financial contributor. Provides more funding than all other permanent Security Council members combined. I hear about that in Wyoming a lot. People aren't really happy with this. Despite this significant investment, the UN has struggled to implement meaningful budgetary discipline to demonstrate consistent fiscal accountability. I think next week this committee is going to have a hearing with the nominee to be our U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. U.S. contribution represents about 22% of the UN's total budget.
On earth, and proudly so. But our fellow citizens, all Americans, deserve to know that every dollar that they send, every hard-earned dollar that an American taxpayer sends to the UN must not, cannot go to a penny cannot go to waste, fraud, and abuse, and every dollar must go to support programs and policies that make our nations stay safer, stronger, and more prosperous. If confirmed, I will devote all of my energies. We're 22% of the regular budget, as you say, sir. We're 25% of the peacekeeping budget, limited by statute. The UN seeks to assess us at 26.1%. And so it's incumbent upon my role, if confirmed on the Fifth Committee on Budget and Oversight, to root out all of this waste and to make, and really, and I said this before, with President Trump's leadership, with the Secretary's leadership, and their charge to us, if confirmed, our team will have that presidential leadership to go there and make sure that those reforms are implemented. Our dollars carry a lot of weight, but over the last 80 years, they haven't, as you say, they actually haven't really been put to the best use by the system to the United States' interest. We need to do better. We must do better. And I commit to you, sir, if confirmed, we will do better.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Booker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am really excited about the U.S.-Greece relationship and the promise and the possibilities. I've been grateful, Ms. Guilfoyle, of what you've already discussed. Can we dive a little bit more deeply into some of the strategic importance of the work that we're doing and that we can build upon, I think, in the coming months with your leadership? Thank you. If you can put your microphone on, I appreciate that. So you mentioned the base in Alexandroupolis. Also, I want to mention the base at Suda Bay and how important they are to the U.S.-Greece Mutual Defense Cooperation Agreement. And I'm wondering if the administration is planning to any upgrades to those existing bases, given their pivotal strategic importance in that region, as you already discussed. And you share the perspective that maintaining and increasing the capacity at Alexandroupolis is important.
Yes, Senator, thank you for the question. It's nice to see you. I believe this is such an important relationship. The administration believes it as well. This is a post where we are dealing with EU, G20, a lot of complex issues geopolitically in that area. And I think it is incredibly important. Again, I am speaking now in the role of a private citizen. I would work in conjunction with the State Department, Senator Rubio, the deputy secretaries, and also following in the mission of American interests moving forward to make sure that we are ready in that area, that relationship and partnership is maintained, that if there are necessary improvements or expenditures that need to be made, that I would advocate in that fashion very strenuously on behalf of the United States of America and the American people.
I am grateful for that. That's the kind of strength I want. The tradition in the ambassador to Greece we had with George Souness was probably the best bipartisan ambassador, and I'm sure you know.
My dear friend who is here today.
Yes, yes. I didn't want to call him out. He does not like attention. He's very shy.
He's Greek. I mean,
yeah.
Fake news.
Yes. Evaristo, thank you. Let's continue. I have a lot of concerns about the Greek-Turkey tensions, and it's something I think all of us should be giving more attention to. When I visited Greece last year and had the pleasure of being with the ambassador for some time, there was really calm between Greece and Turkey, between Athens and Ankara. The Prime Minister of Greece and the President of Turkey met last year twice to try to reduce those tensions, but I am concerned that with regard to sovereignty challenges, maritime borders, those tensions exist and could be real points that get inflamed. Tell me about your concern, and I've heard from a lot of my constituents in the Greek diaspora, as well as from my travels, it is critical, I believe, that the U.S. doesn't tolerate any threats to the sovereignty of our European allies, especially Greece.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. Yes, this is a very important issue, and I know there is a lot of concern from Greece, from Israel, from Cyprus, etc., regarding any increasing of weaponization in Turkey with the F-35s. Again, I'm speaking as a private citizen. I do not direct or maintain policy, but I know this is an area of concern to the administration as well. I know that President Trump is the best negotiator and diplomat to be able to engage with different countries to find meaningful ways to work together. I would like to make sure that we are protecting and honoring our strategic, consistent, stable, and reliable allies with Greece. They have answered the call every time. They have exceeded our expectations. They have readily committed to the 3%, consistent in that regard, and Greece remains strong and proud as the 5th largest spender for military equipment.
I'm going to interrupt you there
in the
because
world.
I'm running out of time, but I want to say I thank you. I associate myself with a lot of that bravado when it comes to Greece. So thank you very much. I just want to say I've got some bipartisan work on really the importance of the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. It's really vital. I hope to be able to talk to you about that. I know you know the importance of that and how the 3+1 framework between Israel,
Yes.
Greece, and Cyprus work into that. But I want to shift in my remaining seconds really to talk to Ms. Blanchard. I'm really concerned about food security, and things are getting exponentially worse on our planet. It's estimated right now, unfortunately, the Trump administration's foreign assistance cuts have already resulted in over 63,000 children dying unnecessarily from hunger. This is heartbreaking. It's a violation of the decency and values of our country. The Rome-based UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the WFP, the FAO, the IFAD, these are critical tools to strengthen the resilience of vulnerable communities who are at risk of hunger. Hunger leads not to horrible death and that is deplorable, but it leads to instability that ultimately could affect our security. So if confirmed, how will you seek to advance the programs that address long-term food security challenges? How do you propose to do that if the U.S. is actually reducing its funding and commitment? And as you know, other nations watch us. When we reduce, they reduce. When we challenge them to do more, as I've done in a bipartisan way here in past years, they do more. And so what impact ultimately do you think the reduction in U.S. funding will have on food insecure countries and communities worldwide?
Senator, thank you for the question. As we all know, food security is bipartisan. We all are in agreement of that, but I do believe we're all in agreement as well of our accountability for our checkbooks. I mean, I account for things that go in and out of my checkbook at home, and I think it's wonderful to reevaluate, and I look forward to the reevaluation process. I personally, and I would never want to put words in the president's mouth, but the fact that he has nominated someone for this position is encouraging to me. I've worked for the last 20 years in helping orphans and the most vulnerable abroad in 12 different countries. I'm a believer in it. I realize it's national security, but I do also realize that there's been instances where malaligned players have gotten a hold of food and used it against us or our allies. So I certainly look forward to meeting with you and this whole
So
committee in the
I'm out of
future.
time. I want to be respectful. I just want to say this. When I was on the Chad-Sudan border, and I've never had a situation, I visited refugee camps all around this world, where pleading Americans were begging me to up food assistance and were being very clear with me as I looked at malnourished babies of what would happen if we didn't increase food assistance. Well, we have done worse. We've limited funding, and I've now heard directly about the children that have died there. There is a moral urgency that I know reflects deeply within your faith tradition and my faith tradition. I beg of you publicly, when it comes to crises like we're seeing in Sudan, to please be a call of conscience to this administration, should you be confirmed, to please demand in private that we step up to American tradition and the moral urgency that has been supported in a bipartisan way. We are watching children die at rates that should stun the conscience of Americans, and I'm hoping that you can help us to address that crisis. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Risch.
Thank you. Ms. Guilfoyle, I want to drill down a little bit more into the issues between Greece and Turkey.
Certainly.
You know, they're both NATO allies, and I have to tell you, I've started to use that word pretty advisedly when it comes to Turkey. I fought with them. I led the charge to get Sweden and Finland into NATO, and it was incredibly frustrating. Turkey was using its power because everything has to be done unanimously in NATO to keep them out, and it was a huge fight. And the other thing, as far as Turkey's concerned, I'm the one that put the hold on the F-35s. The F-35s they bought and paid for are still sitting in the United States because I've got a hold on them, and I'm going to continue to have that hold for a lot of different reasons. But the relationship between Greece and Turkey doesn't get nearly the play in the media here that actually exists. I wind up dealing with it all the time because I'm chairman of the committee. One of the things I'm particularly interested in is the the argument they're having and the fight they've been having for a long time over a territorial dispute. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And the other thing I'd like to hear your thoughts on, and I would recommend to you, is your predecessor, George Souness, who's here. He and our ambassador to Turkey had a very, very close relationship. And I talked to them frequently, and they were really good at sorting out the issues between the two of them. So I would urge that you make that same kind of connection with our ambassador to Turkey. But your thoughts on that relationship and some of the things we might be able to do. The Greeks have been legitimately calling out for our help for a long time on a lot of these, and they're very difficult issues, obviously, between two allies. But your thoughts, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, for that thoughtful question. It's one thing I think that's going to be a main and primary focus, in addition to some other issues, if I am confirmed to be Ambassador to Greece. I do enjoy a very close relationship with Ambassador Barrick in Turkey. I know him for a very long time, and I have a very close relationship with Ambassador George Souness. So I think this will be pivotal to making sure that we are ready and able to exceed expectations on day one. I look forward to working with Ambassador Barrick on this tough issue, in addition to following the direction of the President of the United States. Sir, as you mentioned earlier, Turkey is precluded by U.S. law that you put forward from actually acquiring the F-35s. There are choices that people and countries make in life, and Turkey has chosen to work with the Russians with the S-400s. I think it is imperative that we focus and point out the juxtaposition of a strong, steady ally who has answered the call and exceeded the expectations like Greece, and someone who, yes, is in NATO, but also needs to follow suit and be that same kind of strong and strategic ally. We don't have that at this point in time. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a private citizen. I look forward to getting more information, to getting deeper into the issues, following the direction of the President of the United States, and also working with my esteemed Ambassador Tom Barrick to resolve some of these issues. But again, the big focus has to be, what are we going to do in that area? It is so imperative for national security and for the United States of America, and that we also protect those strong allies that we have in Cyprus, in Israel, and in Greece. And I will make sure that it is my mission objective and focus to do just that if confirmed.
Well, thank you. I think you and Tom are going to be a real team there, I really think. And I appreciate that. The issues that Turkey has are not irresolvable. They are resolvable if cooler heads would prevail. But with Erdogan, it seems like it's going backwards every year rather than forward. So I hope you're able to turn that around. And your comments about the Greek community here in the United States couldn't be more right on. What a great community of people supporting Americana and Americana issues.
Chairman, if I may, just to say that that has been very evident, and it's been consistent for so many years, and they care deeply about this country. We have 3 million Greek Americans living in the United States of America and the diaspora, and 10 million incredible patriots that live in Greece, that they want to work very strongly to help and support the United States, and their intentions are clear. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. I'm out of time, but I just want to say, Mr. Bardos, the title of your job having to do with UN management and reform, that's an oxymoron if I've ever heard one. And I got a lot of issues there. Secretary Guterres comes to see me every once in a while. The first thing I do is drag out the charter and say, what are you doing about this? Because, man, it just isn't working. And we're pumping a tremendous amount of money into it. There's a lot of us not very happy about that. I wish you well. We'll work with you every way that we can. And my time's up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Senator Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to all of you and your nominations. I know Senator Booker covered some of the topics I wanted to, but I'm going to dig a little more deeply into those. So, Ms. Guilfoyle, congratulations on your nomination. As you know, Greece is a critical American ally. The U.S.-Greece relationship has grown to probably one of the most strongest and enduring relationships based on common values, based on defense cooperation, based on strong people-to-people ties, energy collaboration, and the important role they have played also with respect to fighting back against Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine. And that last point indicates that, Greece also plays an important regional role. So your responsibilities as ambassador, of course, are to deepen the bilateral relationship or to support that, but also take a look at the broader picture. And recently, Turkey submitted a maritime spatial plan to UNESCO that reflects maritime claims that have been disputed by Greece. Are you aware of that plan that was submitted?
Senator, thank you for the question. I'm aware of the plan. I am not deeply familiar with the plan because I have not been confirmed. And if confirmed, that is one of the areas that I want to work with the senators and congressmen and the talented people at the State Department, Secretary Rubio, to make sure that we have a strong command of that situation as well. And with Ambassador Barrack.
I appreciate that. So I guess one question would be the approach that you take, because a lot of the actions Turkey has taken, both respect to intrusion into Greek airspace, into Greece's waters, obviously create possibilities of conflict, which we'd hope to avoid. Do you agree that as we approach these kind of issues, that we should do it based on the international law? In other words, the international rules of the road with respect to maritime rights?
Thank you for the question. As a former prosecutor, I've been an attorney for 30 plus years. I have the utmost respect for the rule of law. I believe it should be adhered to. And then there is the additional aspects to consider of what is the State Department policy, what is the position of the President of the United States as it relates to American interests. Will it make us stronger, safer, more prosperous? All of those need to be applied to these complex matrices to make sure that we know that we are acting in the best interest of the United States. And because Greece is so important and pivotal geopolitically, it is a key place in the region that must be respected. And I am a strong believer that we are sending a message to the rest of the world if we do not treat our most strongest and strategic and consistent and steadfast allies like Greece in an appropriate manner to honor and respect the commitment that they have made to the United States of America. And as you mentioned, with our shared values, this is of pivotal importance. And I do believe, again, speaking privately and not as a confirmed ambassador, if confirmed, I would work very hard to make sure that we are really keeping that distinction about who has been acting in the best interest of the United States of America in accordance with the President's viewpoints, in accordance with our national and security interests and foreign policy interests. And I think there's a strong juxtaposition between allies who have and haven't.
I appreciate that. I just want to underscore the fact that Greece sees it in its interests to apply international law, international maritime law. And I would hope that the U.S. position is that we also respect maritime law and not support or look the other way when that's being violated. But your answer, of course, opened the door to looking the other way and, depending on other factors. So I need to turn to Ambassador Blanchard, and I know Senator Booker covered some of this. As you know, the president's budget, envisions very deep cuts to the UN generally, including deep cuts to the UN humanitarian and food programs. Among the UN entities that you'll be responsible for, working with is the World Food Program, which, as you know, is headed by an American who I believe is doing a very good job, Cindy McCain. But the World Food Program is currently facing a 40% overall funding cut. The projections are that as many as 58 million people will be put at greater risk of starvation. There have been cuts by the administration to the PL 480 program. There was just a report the other day about Kansas farmers who used to support the PL 488 program, now looking to essentially use their products for dog food when they prefer to be part of the World Food Program and PL 480. So my question to you is pretty simple. within this administration, will you be an advocate for increasing U.S. support for the World Food Program?
Sir, Senator, thank you for the question. I look forward to working with your team once confirmed, but I will say after the reevaluation, I'm sure that that the president has the three focuses in mind. Does it make us more prosperous, safer, and stronger as Americans? And I look forward to working in those areas once the evaluation is done. I do know that this is just as a private citizen, that 85% of the funding that we've given to World Food Program is still in use. And I applaud that. I also applaud that Ms. McCain's focus is on public-private partnerships at the moment, and I've heard that's been doing well. I see that as a wonderful addition to World Food Program and look forward to partnering with her as leader of the program. And certainly after the reevaluation, would really want to immediately get engaged with this committee on where we need to focus as a team, because it is critical. Food security is national security, and we all love our farmers and we want the best for our farmers. And that's where they make a lot of money.
All right, I look forward to working with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Van Hollen. And thank you all very much for your time today. I appreciate it. Again, this is an impressive hearing, shows why President Trump's nominees have been put forward for these roles. For the information of the members of the committee, the record will remain open until close of business tomorrow, Thursday, July 10th, for members to submit questions for the record. This hearing is adjourned.
thousands of small businesses across Pennsylvania to stay open. Support my good friend Jeff Bartos and his nomination to be Ambassador of the United States UN Management and Reform. Jeff and I became friends, ironically, when we were both running together as Lieutenant Governor back in 2018. Of course, we're in different parties, but throughout that entire process, through that election, we became friends, and we've maintained that relationship ever since then. Particularly, our relationship deepened immediately after the Tree of Life massacre. And we would speak over and over again how it's important is to do something about the rampant anti-Semitism. But again, of course, we have different political differences. We're in different parties, and sometimes it's not popular to be friends and to support members of the opposite party. But I'm here and I'm proud to stand to attest to Jeff's character and his commitment to public service, regardless of whatever the party it is might be different than mine. Using his business experience and has really been very helping people in need. And now during the pandemic, he created a very innovative program called the 30-day PA Day Fund, which helped thousands of small businesses across Pennsylvania to stay open during the middle of the COVID pandemic. I am absolutely confident that Jeff will bring the kinds of dedication and integrity to the United States, putting the interests of our nations at the forefront for every decision that he makes. I'm proud to support his nomination, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce my friend and speak to this committee.
Thank you, Senator Thurman. And with all of our senators, I know that we've got a lot of things going on, and so you're welcome to stay, but I know you may have other hearings you have to get to, so we're pleased that you were able to make this introduction. Senator McCormick,
Thank you.
also would like to talk about.
Absolutely. It's great to follow in the footsteps of the senior senator from Pennsylvania. Jeff, you have your former opponents all introducing you today, which is great. I just want to congratulate all the nominees and Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Shaheen. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I'm specifically here to introduce a native son of Reading. We got a lot of Reading native sons here in the audience, Senator Fetterman and Senator Barrasso. Jeff joins us today with his wife, Cheryl, one of his two daughters, two great daughters, Emily and Sarah, who he always talks about with great pride. And welcome to you all. I'm sure you're very proud. Jeff is here today as the nominee for the U.S. Representative to the United Nations for Management and Reform. And I've seen up close Jeff's dedication to Pennsylvania and to serving our great country. And so, Jeff, thanks for accepting this challenge. You would bring years of great business experience, community leadership in our Commonwealth, a successful real estate developer, president of Last Line Strategies, previously president CEO of the Mark Group, and later division president of Toll Brothers in Horsham, Pennsylvania. You've had a great career. And you've also been active across many organizations in Philadelphia, including the Graham Partners Building Products Advisory Board, the Wexner Heritage Fellowship, the Kimmel Center for Performing Arts, and the Jewish Federation in Philadelphia. Also, as Senator Fetterman talked about, you've really been a leader in Pennsylvania, crisscrossing the state as a candidate for public office, the creator of the 30-day fund that raised millions to help small businesses hurt by COVID. But you know, you've got a tough assignment at the United Nations. And when we put United Nations and reform in the same sentence, that's a tough job. But I know from personal experience, I know the senator does too, of your tenacity, your toughness, your desire to serve your community. And so we are very lucky to have that kind of leadership and grit to root out anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias at the UN, to demand transparency and accountability on behalf of the Trump administration, more important, the American people. So I am pleased to join Senator Fetterman to support this nomination, and I urge all my colleagues on the committee to vote for someone who I know will do a great job on behalf of all Americans. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Thank you, Senator McCormick. And now we'll move on to Senator Moody for Ms. Lucetta.
Thank you, Chairman Ricketts. Good morning. It is my honor to be here today to introduce President Trump's nominee to be the alternate representative of the United States of America for Special Political Affairs, as well as the alternate representative of the United States of America to the sessions of the General Assembly in the United Nations, my fellow Floridian, Jennifer Lucetta. It is no surprise, this is just another great Floridian volunteering her time and coming up to DC to serve her country. She is from Sarasota, Florida, and it is not the first time she is going to be serving on our country's behalf. During President Trump's first term, Ms. Laseta served our country in various roles and helped advance President Trump's vision for a secure and prosperous America. And I know she will continue to do so when confirmed for these positions. Whether it was from her time as Special Assistant to the President and Associate Director of Presidential Personnel at the White House, to various roles she had in Florida, she worked hard on behalf of Floridians and Americans alike, and it gained extensive experience in personnel and management, as well as skills focused on enhancing security protocols. I can attest that, like many of my colleagues, this country is in need of someone to take up the America First mantle in its policy approach in all aspects of our foreign policy, from diplomatic negotiations to the United Nations, and many of the roles in which she will be confirmed. After 4 long years of America Last policies, we now need this more than ever. And I am thrilled that many great Floridians have volunteered to serve and have been nominated by this administration to carry out President Trump's vision for our country. I've seen just how critical the right leadership is to solving the most complex global issues, from Iran and its proxies attacks on Israel and U.S. regional interests, to attempts by the People's Republic of China to infiltrate our universities and steal U.S. military technology. Our foreign policy is only as strong as the leadership we have in positions to respond to these events. President Trump has shown that strong leadership, demonstrated time and time again in dealing with malign actors globally, that it is necessary to pursuing a safer and more secure world. With America First policy, the world is safer, and peace should always be the goal in our foreign policy. Far too long, the United Nations and other international organizations have become the pawn of our adversaries. And that is why it is imperative that the Senate continues to do its duty to confirm President Trump's nominees and ensure that the United States interests are adequately represented in the forums where it matters most. Ms. Laseta is the right person for this job at the right time. I trust that should she be confirmed, she will be a fierce advocate for America's priorities at the UN, stand up for Israel, and ensure strong representation and communication of President Trump's peace through strength vision. She will be an excellent representative of this great nation, and it is my honor to introduce to my colleagues and America, Jennifer Laseta.
Great. Thank you very much, Senator Moody. Appreciate you being here, and thank you very much for the introduction. Next, we'll move on to Ambassador Blanchard, and I believe Senator Britt, you would like to say a few words to introduce the ambassador.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chair Ricketts, Chairman Risch, Ranking Member Shaheen, members of this distinguished committee, and Senator Graham, who joins me right here. Happy birthday, sir.
I will note it's Senator Graham's 70th birthday, so congratulations, Senator.
If you're not 70, turn back. It's not good.
Mr. Chairman, it is an honor to join you all today to introduce my dear friend, Ambassador Linda Blanchard. She's President Trump's nominee to be the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Agencies for Food and Agriculture. She's the former U.S. Ambassador to Slovenia and an incredible businesswoman, philanthropist, and humanitarian. Linda is a native of Alabama's capital city, Montgomery, where I reside. She's devoted her life to elevating our state and supporting communities, not just in this nation, but across the globe. She has a record of bringing sustainable change through education, health, anti-hunger initiatives, you name it. She co-founded the 100X Development Foundation based in Montgomery that now serves over a dozen countries to help the most vulnerable, including children and families in poverty. It is her goal for the unseen to be seen, to be elevated and give an opportunity for success. She served on numerous boards of local organizations like Agape of Central Alabama, a Christian foster care and adoption agency. She is also the founder and former senior advisor of real estate firm B&M Management Company, which speaks to her business acumen. And she currently serves as vice president of business affairs of Ascent Residential, where she oversees 25 properties across 9 states. This nomination also marks a return to diplomatic service for Linda. In June of 2018, President Trump nominated her as U.S. Ambassador to Slovenia, where she diligently served our nation for over a year and a half. In fact, she helped secure joint declaration of 5G technology and a memorandum of understanding concerning strategic nuclear cooperation between both countries. When I was president of the Business Council of Alabama, I had the opportunity to travel to Slovenia and see her firsthand. She is a force of nature. We know the challenges we have in front of us across the globe, and there is no one more prepared to meet those than her. Linda has a proven record of international experience and leadership, and she is ready to translate that longtime service in food, agriculture, and hunger issues to excel in this position. I have absolute confidence in her ability to strengthen international efforts to address food security and advance agricultural development and U.S.-led initiatives. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on her behalf. I look forward to seeing her strong leadership in action as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations agencies for food and agriculture.
Great. Thank you very much, Senator Britt. I know that Senator Toto also wants to say some words on your behalf, and I believe he's on his way. But in the meantime, we're going to go to Senator Graham to talk about Dr. Sinha, who's obviously up for Singapore. Senator Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Senator Coons, and to the committee, thanks for having me, and appreciate the birthday wishes. I can't believe I'm 70. So anyway, that's not your problem, that's mine. So Dr. Sinha, I've known for years. He's been a friend of President Trump for over a decade, and he is quite a life. He was born in India. He's lost his father in a tragic car accident at the age of 13, and he assumed financial responsibility for his 6 siblings and widowed mother. He went on to graduate medical school in India at age 22. He then moved to India's capital city of Delhi in 72 to begin graduate studies and medical career, and eventually immigrated to the United States in 1977, settling in New York. Once in the United States, he started a orthopedic practice for over 40 years, specializing in orthopedic and sports medicine. He sold that practice. He started another practice and had 8 locations throughout New York. Very industrious, talented surgeon and businessman. He has deep ties to the Indo-Pacific region. He's positioned to relate to key stakeholders in the region. Singapore has a very vibrant medical community, a lot of medical tourism, biotech, medical innovation. All of this is right up his alley. I think he'll be a great spokesperson for our country in Singapore. He knows the region and he knows the issues, and I am very honored to introduce him. His wife of 48 years, Dr. Sinha, is a retired anesthesiologist. She was on the NYU faculty, and they have a daughter, son, and 3 grandchildren, and they have truly lived the American dream. And this is a way for him to give back to his country. And I heartily recommend his nomination to be ambassador to Singapore. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Senator Graham. Ambassador Blanchard, I understand that Senator Toto did get pulled away to something else. And Ms. Guilfoyle, Senator Haggerty is going to say some remarks about you when he has his time for questions. So don't feel left out. Senator Haggerty will be here. Now, what we'll do before we turn to our panelists for their introductory statements, we'll follow that with a round of 5-minute questions. I will take the opportunity to thank all of our nominees first, however, for your willingness to serve our great country on the world stage, and congratulate all of you on this opportunity. Thank you also to your families because they serve alongside with you. Ambassador Blanchard, you know that from personal experience. It's been the opportunity I've had as a governor to be able to do trade missions and see our